Hi, welcome again to Myth, Magic, Medicine. Season 3 is a very special season. I have only guests who are immigrant doctors. When they got to the US, they were coming from a different healthcare system, but fully trained doctors. And I thought, as an immigrant who came before she went to med school, that that would be an interesting thing for people. And you've got 12 weeks to decide. Thank you very much for joining us. My first guest is Dr. Mamta Kumar, who is, I would imagine, from India. And which part of India, Mamta?
From North India, from Bihar.
Oh, okay. And you are an internist, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And also integrative and functional medicine?
Mhm.
Fabulous. How did you get here? Don't tell me it was on a plane. What brought you to America?
So I was born and raised in India, of course, and I went to medical college back in India, and I got married in fourth year of medical college. And my husband, he was an IT guy who was working for an IT company, and they had a project. He was here in the United States for a year.
One second. How long is med school in your part of India? It's 4 years.
At that time, it was 6.5 years, like 5.5 years for the, yeah. But after that, I think the policies have changed. You have to do 2 years of internship. I did 1 year of internship, and after that, I was fine.
So internship is part of medical school. It is in most of Europe as well.
It is
Right.
part of medical school there. Yeah.
Okay. So you are a married woman in India with a husband in the US working?
Yes, because I was in the medical college at that time. Yeah, that's how it was. Ours was an arranged marriage back in 2000. I always forget.
Can I just
2004.
add, this is not the scope of this conversation, but can I just put up a plug for it was an arranged marriage, not a
Yes.
forced marriage. It's a
No,
different
it was
deal.
not. Like we had
It's
met each other and we
right.
had
It's
talked to
the
each
it's the
other.
Indian version of Match.com or any other,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, where families
with
will bring
aunties.
the people. Yeah, the aunties brought us together. We met in person in front of the family, and after that, we met separately. We talked over the phone. We knew each other's goal, which were in alignment, and we agreed to proceed with the marriage.
Good. That's out of the way now. So, so you spent an additional 2 years after you married before you could come to the
Yes,
US?
because I was still in the medical college, and my husband, we agreed that even though we were married, he was just not ready to settle down already because he was working for the company, he was getting promoted, and there was opportunity for him to come here. We didn't know for how long, so he moved
Oh,
here.
so you got married and he came. I thought he was over here already.
So we got married. He went to London. He stayed in the UK for 6 months. And after that, he came back to India. And it was all project dependent because he was still working for the Indian company, but they were taking the projects and he was traveling, depending upon wherever his project needs were. So after coming back to India, he came back here in Phoenix. So I finished my graduation and we were like, okay, so what should I do? Then I came and joined him here. My intention was to go back to India. I brought a lot of books here, like a whole suitcase, like 20, kgs, which was allowed back, the one travel backpack. I bought all the books so that I could prepare here and go back to India and give my, post-graduation entrance exams. That's what the initial plan was because we didn't want to stay here. He didn't want to stay here because all our family is back in India. So our intention was to just kind of spend a year or two here, depending upon his project, and then go back.
Mm-hmm. So your intention was not to start at any point. You weren't expecting to do postgraduate here.
No.
Did you want to do internal medicine in India also? Was
I
that the
did.
plan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what changed?
So
You
a
fell in
lot,
love with Phoenix or?
not necessarily. I think a lot changed. I was still kind of here and I was noticing that back in India, the post-graduation and like in India, it's different. It's not the school which matters. It's the top 10% or top 2,000 people will only get the seats. And the worst part of that was like I was born and raised in north part of India, which is in Bihar, and I was in very top of the list when I was given opportunity to choose the medical college. So you, depending upon your rank, you get to choose a medical college. So I obviously was going to be able to choose the top 10 medical colleges in India, and that's what I did. Like I chose the fifth medical college back in India at that time, but I had to stay away from my family. I chose a medical college in Mumbai, which was away. and my parents were in Bihar. My husband's family was somewhere else. So I realized if my husband was here and I was going to be going through that exam again, then I didn't know which state I would fall into. That would
Right.
mean for 2 years we would be living separately.
Yeah, just for clarification, I'm not sure whether I'm going to edit this to make it smoother. Maybe not. I tend to be very lazy. The system is so very different.
Yes.
So you're still attached. I mean, obviously, we're still attached to academic institutions when we're postgraduate training, but you have to actually apply to the college.
Mhm.
And when they will then tell you which hospital you're going to be apprenticed to.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
right,
didn't
so-
fit so well at that time. After 2 years, I was like, what am I doing? Doesn't make
Yes,
any sense.
I'm a married woman. I'm not with my family and I'm not with my husband either.
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah. So what would I do? Like for 3 years, and I don't know. Like India is very varied. Some parts of the country are very, very remote villages, and I had to go for one rotation to one of those villages. Not necessarily I have to say anything bad or good about it, but it was very remote for my liking, and I was like, oh gosh, like I don't know how I would survive if I was posted in that place for good 3 years with no phone or internet connection, not even like lights and stuff.
Yes, it's a different world. Let's talk just a little bit about the practice of medicine in India. I mean, it's got such a long history, but Ayurveda too. Do you do that? There's so much. What the conversation I had with one of the people who'll be on later in the season, which prompted this series, was she was talking about what things she could say to a patient, or if it was bad news. Because you can tell somebody they're going home, that's everybody's happy with that. But if you're going to tell somebody they're probably not going to be able to be discharged from the hospital, she was not allowed. You just didn't give bad news to family members. And so there are so many things that are different, that are so culturally specific. What's the attitude towards health? And
India is definitely different. At that time when I was in the medical school, right now, definitely people have health insurances. At that time, they didn't. I was in the public, the government hospital, where the government hospital would provide all the medicines. They would take care of all the hospitalizations and stuff like that. You were supposed to pay minimal sliding scale co-payment or something like that. That's what I was aware of. I never practiced independently in India. I was always like supervised with my attendings and everything. So I honestly cannot speak much to that because I always was in that trainee mindset where I would do the whole curriculum the way we do it over here, like, collecting the history and then coming up with the whole examination, coming up with a plan, differential diagnosis, doing the full physical exam. But, and then, coming up with a plan, like, what are we going to do? I did have my conversations, but I cannot speak much to that. Like, I never remember having those conversations with the patients where like, hey, I believe this is what you have, because I was like, oh, well, I think with the attending, we will be back with the attending. Yeah.
Right. So you use the UK system as a consultant and then the firm.
Yeah. The system is exactly the same here. Like in the intern, you would act as an intern. Like intern here would not go and tell them the whole diagnosis unless it's confirmed by the attending. So that's how it was.
Right. No, intern, resident, attending. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I think things have changed, definitely. For a very brief moment when I was in the UK before I came to the US, I was a nurse. And if a consultant walked into an office, the nurses were expected to stand. That was the background I was from.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's gone. It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But do you think that Indian patients in India, obviously there's a large diaspora, but Indians in India have a different attitude to whether they expect to get better or not, whether they expect there's a certain amount of karma.
Yes, the way the medicine works over there is definitely different. And honestly, what I saw back there in like 2000 years and currently right now is still very different. But physicians are still very well respected for their time. There is still quite a bit of respect out there. And then even in the society, they could have their own private practice or private hospitals. So they have quite a bit of autonomy over there. since they can directly charge the patients. And I really think, honestly, it's kind of very reasonable rates compared to what we have over here. Honestly, I and my husband were talking about, like, how the healthcare system is here right now, that at one point, if we have to get certain kind of treatment, it might be
Oh,
it's like
medical
go back to
tourism
India.
to India. Yeah.
Yeah, just like get it done, because you still have that freedom, and the doctors are always going to be doing what's the best for the patient. There's no insurance people, middlemen, and the business people in between, like guarding, oh, you can't prescribe this medication to this patient, or you can't do this or that. There's no third party controlling, for the most part. If you're not using
Mhm.
insurance, I think the rates are very reasonable, and you can get it
Mhm.
done. Things done for you.
Of course, if you have money. That's not
Yeah,
obviously the
of
case for
course.
a large part of the
Otherwise, you have to
population.
go towards the health, like, the government system and stuff, and they might not be that advanced just
Mhm.
because the government doesn't have that much funds too.
So you came over to the Phoenix area and you decided then that you weren't going to go back to India? Did you?
No, I was still at that time, I didn't know. And I think my husband stayed there for like a year, and then we went back India again, and we came to Charlotte again. And I still have my whole load of books which I was preparing. Then virtually met. There was some time, I don't know if what did we have Facebook at that time? Was it Orkut? I don't know what it was, but I connected with a few of my batchmates, and they were like, they were already doing here, masters here, MPH here. And then they were like preparing for the USMLE, and everybody was getting 99, and we were talking about all that. And then he was like, oh, so you have given your USMLE? I'm like, no, I'm not. So then that put that seed inside my brain, like, you know what? How about, even though we don't want to go back, but it seems like we have been here for 2 years on and off,
Mhm.
it could extend for 3 years, and I could just do my residency here. And the residency here is valid back in India.
Yeah.
That was one of my things. I was like, oh, if I do a post graduation here, in fact, I could stay with him, as a family, we could stay together. I could do my post graduation and we could go back. So that's what kind of got me into that. And I got all the books which was needed. It just didn't take much expensive courses or anything like that. I almost DIY'd everything, sat down, locked myself up for 4 months, and then I got 99 percentile. So I was like, well, this means something. Then my husband was like, why not you just pursue this? We'll see whatever happens.
So that was step one.
Yes.
And it was CS in at that time? Did you
Yes.
take that
Yeah.
too?
Like we still had it. So I think that was still the April when I had passed. So from April to November, basically I locked myself up for a good 9 months. So I was like, 9 months, people have babies, like women have babies. And I gave this, like, all the exams back to back, and I had my ECFMD certification. So I was certified by the
Right.
year end.
Yeah. For anybody listening who isn't a physician, there are three main steps. Actually, they've gotten rid of that clinical skills one, and that trips up a lot of people, because if they're coming from abroad, they've got to come to this country to one of 6 centers to take the exam before they know whether they're going to be in America or not, and it's pretty expensive. It's expensive to take the exam, never mind the travel and the hotel and all the rest of it.
Very expensive. And I'm
Yes.
glad my husband was here working, so we didn't have to convert the rupees to dollar to do this. But yeah, he had to support me through this.
Did you take step 3, or you did residency first?
I did the residency first because I had already done the CS. So I got, in fact, pre-matched. So I took the offer, and then I just kind of just continued. I did the USMLE step 3 in the 3rd year residency.
Where were you in residency?
Texas Tech Amarillo.
Okay. Was your husband able to be local to you at that time?
Yes. So what we did, everything was kind of very planned. So when I moved there, his plan was to get into MBA. So he left his job, he did MBA, and he joined Texas Tech Lubbock, which was an hour and a half driving distance. So he would go there, stay there, and do his course and stuff. And on the weekends, he would come back. Yeah. So that's how we spent our years.
Yeah. And some of those weekends you weren't conscious.
Yes. And he would bring food to me when I was working in the hospital. He'll cook and he'll bring me food.
Yes. So when did you decide you were going to stay in the US?
I really think for the longest time we were like, oh, whatever happens, and whenever we decide to go back, we'll go back. I think things got a little more complex and complicated after having these, after I became attending, and I had some complex pregnancies. And my youngest daughter, she was born in 24 weeks. So she
Oh.
stayed in NICU for 5 months, and after that, all the therapies and everything, and that almost like sealed it. That, I don't think she'll be able to kind of get that much care, level of care back in India. So we are going to be just staying here. Not necessarily
Mm.
only that, but our life is just way more settled now. We know the American system way better than the Indian system now because we have spent
Mhm.
here so many years. So with each passing year, it's like, okay, we are going to be here.
Mhm. Do you ever go back?
I do go back for travel only, we'll just
Mhm.
go back and stay there for a month and come back. But our last travel was right before pandemic in 2019. Hopefully
Mhm.
we can go back now. With the pandemic, we didn't want to travel.
It's an
But right now, hopefully this week.
awful long time in a sealed
Yeah,
container. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
But all of the children had been to India?
Yes, both of them has been to India.
Good.
Yeah. Not necessarily they remember much, but yeah, they have been there.
So let's talk a little bit. Do you think what do you think were the biggest surprises to you when you started practicing medicine here? Albeit having gone from a fully fledged doctor to suddenly being a beginner run again in the
Right.
American system.
I really think American system was very, very different. Like, going into medicine was not necessarily like, oh, I wanted to become a doctor. Like, I really think I was the first doctor in my family, let alone it be a female
Mhm.
doctor. So coming over here, so I really think in the medicine, the way I taught it, there was art and, science to it. But
Mhm.
it seems like while I came here, I remember back in medical college in India, we'll talk a lot about art part of it, like, the bedsides, physical examinations and stuff like that. Here, it's all very sciencey and
Mhm.
it's like, very technological. Like you need something, some information. Oh, go ahead and order this blood test. Go ahead and order the echogram, MRI, CT, or whatever. And sometimes, even the conversation with the patients, even though something else is ailing them, we just stick to the science technological part of it and we just forget, or like there's not enough time. Honestly, I realize with the insurance limits there's no enough time to provide that care what patient came for. They
I
didn't
know.
come for CBC, they didn't come for this or that, they came for a headache or shortness of breath or whatever, and we forget to address like how it matters or how it affects their day-to-day life.
Mhm. Yeah, the amount of time spent in physical exam, and that is true pretty much of Western medicine, I think.
Mhm.
You may even find parts of India have changed because things just seem to be getting faster and
Totally.
faster. I
I
was
agree.
really being my age. I now use Medicare, and I went for the annual wellness checkup. And if I brought up any new symptom, they've turned it into a different. Now, what's the point of having the wellness checkup if I don't have if I can't tell them everything that's going on? Why bother? And I have a
Yeah,
very nice Indian doctor
yeah.
who's practiced here for a long time too. But yeah, we seem to. Well, I think we are becoming over reliant on the tests
Yes.
and less on our gut
And
instinct.
on both sides, not necessarily just the
Yeah.
doctors, the patients even just want
Oh
the
yes.
test.
If you don't do the
Yes,
test, then
yes,
yes, there's
that's
something right.
that's a problem for them. But yeah, that doing the test, coming to a diagnosis, not necessarily helps you, you know, from what you're going through.
No. And then, of course, we also adopted throughout the world, I suspect, is that you must have medication for it. No matter what it
Yeah,
is, there has to be an answer. And of course, there's so many things there aren't. There are medications we can give you that might help you cope with the symptoms, but they are not necessarily going to help you with the issue.
yeah.
Did you find did did you miss aspects of Indian medicine when you were here? Were there things that you would have done in India that you wish you had been able to get past the Dean of Science?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that even though I was the first doctor back in India who was trained, but Ayurveda and the way of living back in India is very different. Like like in India, there's not much dementia. In India, like, my grandma just died right now. I think probably she was in the 90s. She still had very sharp memory until 80s. And I realized that when I came back here, I was diagnosed with autoimmune illness back in 2016. Yeah, somewhere around that time where I was like a full-fledged doctor. I was a attending physician. And I started to kind of do all this Western medicine. I was taking the medicines, whatever I was prescribed for. And I realized, honestly, at one point that I was having a lot of side effects and I couldn't even tell or differentiate what was the real disease and what was the side effect of the medicines, because it was just a lot. So then I started, after like 2 or 3 more years, I started to kind of go towards Eastern medicine again. And that was the reason I started to do my fellowship in integrative medicine. But I didn't want to kind of go into woo-woo medicine again. So that's why like I looked up here in the Western culture, who are the people who are talking about this and who resonated with me. And one of them was Andrew Weil, Dr. Andrew Weil. And he had this program, which was like a pretty acclaimed program. Honestly, it was just a weekend decision. I was kind of feeling sick. And then I was like, gosh, it looks like my health is just declining and it will continue to decline. I was denied disability and the private life insurance at that time. So I made this all research and I talked to my husband, what do you think? I'm thinking about doing this fellowship, not necessarily for the academic reasons to become an integrative and functional doctor, but I want to kind of understand a little bit more about my own health and feel better about it. And he was like, you know what, if it helps you just stay where you are, and if you think it's, helpful, just go ahead and do it. And I honestly didn't even know how many doctors enroll into this, or whatever. And I looked at the cost of it, and that was very high. And I didn't know if anybody like American doctors will be interested into this. And I was surprised that when I enrolled at the last minute, I went there, like in that batch alone, we had 80 doctors, like from oncologists to neurologists to critical care to all the specialties to psychiatrists. And I kind of really felt at home with that environment where the holistic healing was taken into account. Not just a physical illness where, for each abnormal lab or each abnormal test, you have a medicine for that, because it doesn't equate that way. Yeah.
I rather enjoy the fact that people don't like the word psychosomatic. They prefer mind body. Say, would you please translate those two words you just used that you don't like? That's exactly what it means. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you also practice functional medicine. Would you mind giving us a mini primer on the difference between the two?
So honestly, I have done the training of both, but I have never like full-fledged practiced. I did start a telemedicine practice on the side, but never marketed it a lot. But there is definitely a difference between the integrative and the functional medicine. I really think integrative medicine focuses more on healing from inside out, and it will take care of all the mindset, the behaviorals, the habits, and the things which we eat and the environment we are in. And it will work on changing all that to take care of the health. And the functional medicine is a little different. They go still with a little more diagnostic eyes. And I don't know, and I don't want to I don't know how to say it exactly. So they still advertise, or they want you to do certain kind of tests, checking on your hormone levels, checking on your gut bacteria, checking on this and that, which I'm not sure I'm too fan of. So that's why I identify myself being more of an integrative physician than the functional, because at one point it comes up down to be monetizing that by ordering all this bunch of tests which are not covered by the insurance, and then giving you this bunch of supplements which are not covered by the insurance as well.
Right.
I don't know if that's what provides the better care than the integrated medicine. I really think you can just work on and modify all the environments rather or without doing the test.
Yeah, it does sound. I'm cut this piece out. I don't want to offend people who practice functional, but I do. You see a lot of other medicine adjacent people.
Yes.
Practicing functional medicine.
And they're not doctors. So
and they're not doctors. And that's, but my concern, what I like about the integrative model is that the body has a phenomenal ability to heal itself. Yes, not everything. Somebody's going to be sick, and you can always fall down and break a leg, and that's kind of ill too. But it allows your body, if you have decent sleep and proper food for your body, and everybody is a little bit different, all of those things would, if we have a better attitude to keeping ourselves ready to heal so that we can carry on and have productive lives. Productive always sounds like you're going to go out and make millions. That's not what I mean. I mean, a happy life where you get up in the morning, you have a nice day, and then you go to bed. Do you practice differently now you've learned integrative medicine?
Definitely. I think my whole life has changed. And earlier I felt that I had to continue to work for those 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week and stuff like that. Now I'm like, if my body cannot take it, I'm okay with taking it easy and then just doing it, coming up with the terms with that. I don't push myself to extreme. at all. I definitely think I've changed as a parent as well because, I really think I'm looking and raising my kids to be more well-rounded people rather than being a very academic people who are doing well in the school but are internally very unhappy trying to chase that
Mhm.
mirage. So I'm definitely a very different person going through that integrated model, which resonated so well with me. And then just meeting those peers who thought the same.
Mhm.
I really felt like, okay, so I'm not the only one who's crazy enough to think. I honestly think, that was definitely a lot of it, like feeling like I'm just such an outcast. Honestly, when I enrolled into integrative medicine for a year and a half, I never told anyone because I was working in a hospital.
Um,
Everybody was very technical,
but
integrative
but a lot of the larger academic institutions have integrative medicine departments.
now, or maybe in the last 2 years, but not like 5 years.
Oh,
I got enrolled in like 2018, I believe, if not 2019. So at
yeah.
that time,
Maybe it's also region specific because I mean
yeah.
I used to go to Jefferson like 20
Mhm.
years ago. They had an integrative department.
Oh, they did?
It may have been more prominent over
Yeah.
here, a bit, but
Yeah.
Arizona, I would have hoped to
So
wheel
I
that as
am
out.
in Austin, Texas. So in past 3 years, I've seen a lot of people showing up, like not
Okay.
necessarily even they are MDs, but they are like calling themselves specialists in this arena. So that was 3 years ago, but I was into this training like a year and a half before it kind of exploded in this town here.
Mhm.
So at that
So
time, Mhm.
so now, how are you using your training? What is the emphasis of your work
That's an
now?
interesting question because, I did start a telemedicine practice, which was integrated care MD. That was like 2 years ago. And I also started a health coaching business on the side. But I also do a full time, like I invest in real estate and that has been doing well. So staying with those core values of integrative medicine, if I have autoimmune illness and I want to live that well-balanced life, I realized that I couldn't be doing all these three professional things at one point. And now
Mhm.
I'm coaching other medical professionals about their own financial journey. So it was like four things, which I was trying to do in limited hours, which I work because I don't work like 8 to 10,
And
12 hours.
you still have 2 kids.
I still have two
That's
kids. So I had to decide and let some things go for
Mhm.
right now. Not that doesn't mean like forever I'll not be using it. So for now, I have decided to not use or like stop working on the integrative and the functional medicine side of the things. Just focus on my real estate and helping other physicians achieve their financial freedom. So these are two focuses with my kids and my own health. So these are four priorities, and it was a very hard decision to kind of
Mhm.
let go of something which I feel very passionate about. But what would be the point if I cannot implement what I learn or talk about? So
Right.
I
Physician,
decided,
heal thyself.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you anticipate going back to medicine at some point? Are you leaving that
I'm
door
still
open?
licensed. I'm
Yeah.
still licensed and I'll continue to practice. No, like I'll continue to stay licensed. And I did try to kind of go back to some PR and locum jobs so that I can continue to practice. But the hours requirements are still brutal. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
you want you to do 14 shifts, we want you to do 7 shifts for like this many hours. And I
Yeah.
don't think I can handle that. So I'll probably maintain my license at one point, just kind of go back to my own private practice, which I have planned for because my
Mhm.
vision of having the health and the wellness is way different now after going through my own health issues, my daughters, and going through this integrative and functional model, mind body connection models. I really think just practicing medicine where you are taking insurance, doing the test, and prescribing the medication, all which is covered by the insurance. I really think is the insurance which is directing the care, not the doctor
Yeah.
or not the patient. So I don't want to get into that model.
Well, twofold, because there's also fear of litigation,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
drives an awful lot of testing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That brought us to mention an
Yes.
attorney and doctors go quiet.
Right.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Because we are running out of time.
Now I'm like, I think what's important is for each one of us, like either we are physicians or not physicians, just kind of staying in alignment. I really think lots of diseases are even caused with that, like going out of alignment. We try to fit into the same box as physicians, like, oh, physicians are supposed to be this square fitting in this puzzle of right over here, and each one of us even as physicians or as human beings, we have different roles, we have different inherent characters. So it's kind of very important to kind of just come in alignment and just create the life which you seek and which is good for you and your family. This was a late realization, but after I realized this, that I have been able to kind of let go of things which doesn't resonate with me anymore. And I really think I have like way more fulfilling life now after this, all those experiences.
Let's go with the stereotype for a moment or two, since you're Indian, and Indians are not uncommonly sort of strongly encouraged to become doctors. How do your parents feel about, how does your family back home feel about your stepping away from more clinical medicine towards?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because, my mom was here, but my youngest was born and she was in ICU. And I was kind of almost getting pressured to go back to work from work. I didn't want to, but it was very interesting to notice that my mom felt it was okay that I should go back to work. My husband felt the same too. So I couldn't voice that at all. So this time I didn't talk to anybody. I'm like, okay, I'm doing real estate on the side. They always knew that I was doing real estate on the side, and they didn't hear about me not going back to medicine unless I was successful in real estate already.
Okay.
So I think they have already seen I'm doing fine in the real estate. So I think there's been no pushback or anything like that right now.
All right, so good.
Yes.
You said you have a course that's fully booked right now?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you're not looking for new people? Will you be doing it again?
Not right now, but we'll be probably doing it in fall again because there has been just so much demand.
Okay, so we'll make sure that all your contact information are in the show notes. So,
Sure.
but just in case somebody's listening on a podcast, doesn't have a piece of paper handy to write it down, or they're in the car, could you say out loud the URL for your contact info?
Yeah. So the website is fastfiremd.com. And that's where
Fastfire,
yeah,
FIR.
it's like fast financial independence, retire early.com. Even though I don't believe in retirement, but yeah, financial freedom for sure. I like freedom. I like to feel free. So
Well,
it's
yes, but I mean, the nice thing is
fastfiremd.com.
be financially independent so you can do what you really want to spend your life on earth doing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
we'll
for
have
having
many,
me.
many more conversations. I'll think of other
Yes.
things to talk to you about. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Same here. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for joining us at Myth Magic Medicine. If you have found this episode useful, you can apply for free CME credit through the link provided in the transcript. If you're not a medical professional, please remember, while we're physicians, we're not your physicians. So please consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you have heard might apply to you or a loved one. Until next time, bye-bye.